let me show you how easy it is to build a MindStudio agent that will automatically respond to frequently asked questions or facts in your organization so that support personnel or anyone else in your organization does not need to respond to them. This agent will automatically respond to them for you by checking your company email, analyzing three things. One, analyzing whether it belongs to the fact and analyze that. If not, it will then automatically submit it to a human support personnel person. And if it does belong to a fact in your organization, which fact does it belong to? And then automatically respond to it and send that person an email. So humans don't even need to know what's happened. So first, let me walk through how this is built, and then I will demo it. And that will be more helpful when you see it run in action. So what this will do is you would set this on a schedule, such as every 5 minutes. I don't have this set on a schedule now, and I'm going to show it to you in runtime using debugger mode. But when it runs every 5 minutes, it would automatically check your email. And in this example that I'm doing today, of course, I'm using my own account, but I am using +sign method to my own email account where this is my base email address. But if I add +support or +anything else that you want, you can Gmail alias an email address so that it will come back to your account, but it treats it separately from either your base account or any other aliases that you might use in your account. And then you can use that for either testing purposes or demo purposes like I'm doing today. And it is using a specific search query to locate emails that apply to that agent. In this particular case, in this example, if that email does not have, which is what this minus label means, it does not have a label called auto resolved, or does not have a label called, or actually I should not say or, it is and does not have a label called needs human, meaning a person needs to respond to this, the agent cannot determine how to address it, then it will proceed. Anything else that's not fit within that query will not be addressed, and it would just stop. It would go past this, run workflow block, and end. But if there are emails, then it will use this array. You don't need to even have a custom array that you use a generate text block with, because this automatically comes as an array. Let me show you an example. This is a JSON array that the output automatically determines. And the way I determined what values I want is if you just kind of briefly look at this, you see here's from, and then the subject, which would be like plain body, and here's the question for that the customer is asking. You can inspect this, and this is a great way to learn how to use these blocks or any other blocks that are in MindStudio. You run it in debugger, you study the output, and then you determine what you need out of it. So it is already structured as an array, and it will run multiple times to this other workflow that will determine three things in this example. One, first, before I go into that, notice how there are launch variables here that I am using from this run workflow block. Notice here I am getting the item from that JSON array I showed you from debugger, and I'm getting the ID. The ID is the ID for that specific Gmail email that the search Gmail email block captured. I'm getting the date, key name, which is obviously the date of that email. It's using UTC date. The from, the plain body version of that email, and the subject of that email. It sends those to this evaluate workflow as launch variables, and you'll recognize what these do: date, from, subject, message, and ID. Most of these seem pretty obvious to use. ID is important because we will use that ID to know which email to update its labels after it has been addressed by this agent. So now we determine what is the topic of this email, and it is using this block to do so and saving it to a variable called topic. So now it will, once it has this topic, a logic block is determining which fact does it apply, if any. So here in this demo, I have two different facts, and I'll show you what those facts look like in my demo. One is for accounts, one is for billing, and also this accounts is also for login questions, and then anything else. Either it cannot determine what the topic is about, or it does not apply to these 2 facts. Now, in your real organization, you can have as many facts as you need and set as many conditions to evaluate as you need. So notice here when I mouse hover, if it's accounts, then it goes to this accounts workflow. If it's for billing, it goes to a billing workflow. And if it's other, it goes to an other workflow. We're going to look at the other first. So now if it routes here, notice again that with these run workflow blocks, if it goes to other, it comes to this run workflow block. And notice here, I am again passing these variables to that other workflow: the ID, the date, who it's from, the message itself, and the subject. So now let's come to other, and you recognize these same launch variables. In this demo, it is posting to a Slack channel. Then it updates these labels. Now, the way it updates these labels is by the message ID. And this could be multiple emails, depending on how many emails you have at any given time when this agent runs every 5 minutes. So you may have multiple emails that do not pertain to any of your facts, but it will know which one to address based on the ID provided in this workflow. Here's the ID as a variable, and it will add these labels to that email. It adds support and needs human. And when we go look at Gmail, I will show you how you add these labels for your organization. I'm using these in this demo just to show you how labels work in MindStudio. And these settings are not specific to MindStudio. Google has documentation and syntax on how you add labels to update those labels. So now let's take a look at one of these. These two, the accounts and billing, function very similarly. So I'll just look at the accounts one, for example. And it goes to the accounts workflow. Now notice here, these are the same launch variables in this workflow like we've seen before: the date from subject, message, ID. Now in this demo, I am fetching a Google Doc that contains the entire fact that we have. Now in your organization, if you wanted to, you could perhaps have a data source, and it would do a data source query and get this back. There are advantages, pros, and cons to doing both. With a data source, if you have a lot of data, then it makes total sense to have a data source. And you can have separate data sources for each separate fact. But in this case, it's actually beneficial to, for example, have a Google Doc, because now it will inject the entire contents of that fact. And now this agent, this workflow, has access to your entire fact for evaluation. And in this demo, in this accounts demo, here I have a fake fact for support for accounts and login. And you can see these are examples of, I forgot my password. How do I change my registered email address? Do you guys use two-factor authentication? Can I merge accounts? Blah, 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 blah. It will inject this document. And here's an example for a billings and payment fact. How do I update my payment method? What's your refund policy? How do I invite and download my invoices? Blah, 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 blah. And it is using this fact in the accounts. The billing is referencing the billing Google Doc for the fact. And now it is determining, does this fact apply to, does the query from this customer apply to this fact? And it is going to output one of two responses. It is going to output yes or no. Now notice when I hover over yes, it proceeds up to this point to generate the body of the email for this response. If it's no, then it goes to this other workflow, which you may guess is the other workflow. And again, it sends it to the Slack channel for a person to look at. But in this yes, it comes up to generate the body of this fact. And you see that it has all of these variables as part of it: the subject, message, and fact. It doesn't need the ID in this block, so it's not provided. And generate a response to the following email content based solely on the fact. And here's the context, and you are acting as a professional support representative. And use this template to output. Thank the customer for submitting the question. Indicate this response in regards to the subject and the message. Answer the question only from the fact. And then end the response with this specific string. So please let us know if that does not answer your question. We'd be glad to help you any further. And then you can put any constraints on how you want this agent to respond. For example, address the person by the provided first name from the email. Do not reference the fact itself, and do not generate any other responses. Now then, based on this body of this email, it generates a subject for that email, so that the subject and the email body match. When a person then sees the subject, it will then kind of match with the body of that email. Then it uses the send Gmail block, which is new to MindStudio as of recently. It will, again, based on your account, it has the from to whom to send the email. In this demo, it will be me, of course, because we're using my email account. The subject of this that we just generated here, and then a plain text version of the body. And then it updates these labels for that email. And again, this looks very familiar. It's based on the ID of that email. And this may, again, run multiple times, depending on how many account-related facts it may find in that 5-minute check interval. And then it adds these labels: support, auto-resolved, so that when a human follows up later, they see that this was automatically resolved by my fac, and it is an accounting-related issue. And this is helpful for your support team to know how many questions are we getting about accounting, how many questions are we getting about billing. You can now inspect your email and see how it was addressed. Billing works the same way. So now let me come over to my email and let me show you where you would add labels, because one thing that MindStudio does not do at present is it does not create labels for your account. It can only update labels. That means these labels must already exist in your Gmail instance. So I click on settings, go to labels, scroll down here and click create new label. You don't want to nest it under anything. And notice here's some of the examples, like I showed you: the accounting label, billing, auto-resolved, any other labels that you might be using in your agent, you add them here. They must be added before you launch this agent into production. So now let me come back out to my inbox, and I have 3 different emails as part of this demo, just a demo one of each. One of them says, help me, I'm stuck. And please help me, I'm stuck in your software. I have no idea what to do. You can guess what we as humans would know where this will go. It will go to other. And then this one, do you use two-factor authentication? And I'm just using 2FA, the acronym. I can't seem to find it. And then this third one, how do I access my invoices? I can't find on how to access them. You and I as humans intuitively know where these will go. So now let me run this agent and let's see what it does with these emails. And will it ignore the rest of my tons of my inbox? So I come over here, and because there are no user interfaces in this agent, I'm just going to run this from debugger mode. So now let's take a look at my Gmail account again. Do a refresh. Now notice here that these are the original emails that presumably in real life your customers would submit. Help me, I'm stuck. Now notice, indeed, it did address this correctly, that it is a support incident email and it needs a human to look at it. Let's take a peek over here at Slack. And this is the Slack channel that your human support person is monitoring for issues that that the agent could not address. Now let me come over here to how do you use two-factor authentication? It properly recognized that 2FA is an acronym for two-factor authentication, recognized from our FAQ that this was part of the accounting FAQ, and properly routed it to auto-resolved support accounting. And so now, at the end of the day, or however long you want to, a human would follow up with these responses and see how your support agent is addressing them. And then lastly, where do I access my invoices? And it properly addressed it as support, billing, and auto-resolved. So now let's see how a customer would have received these emails. Of course, I received them because I was the actual person that submitted them. And dear Lewis, thank you for reaching out to us with your question. I'm writing in response to your query about two-factor authentication. And it addresses it from the FAQ. To enable 2FA, please go to these settings. And indeed, wrong one. Indeed, it does go to this question. How do I enable two-factor authentication? Likewise, where are my invoices? And that came from this FAQ. So I hope that you found this demo helpful and informative.